There has never been a better time to dive into survival games. The genre has made a strong comeback, and every year new games push your limits in increasingly creative ways. From forests, deserts, space, apocalypses, giant insects to dinosaurs. So pack your bag, because the world out there won't forgive you. I'm Jax, and if you're new here, welcome to the Play Hunters channel. If you could subscribe to help me grow, I'd be really happy, from one gamer to another. There are no monsters in the long dark, just you, the cold, and a world that couldn't care less if you live or die. After a mysterious geomagnetic event, everything shuts down: power, communication, civilization. What's left is the harsh silence of the Canadian winter, where even lighting a fire becomes a challenge. You have no powers, no allies, only your hands and a fragile will to keep going. Every step outside the shelter is a negotiation with death. The focus here is entirely on realistic survival. You need to eat, rest, protect yourself from the wind, and carefully ration every item. The mechanics are tough and unforgiving. Hypothermia can kill you faster than a wolf. The game doesn't give you hints, maps, or directions. Everything depends on your ability to observe, learn, and adapt. Every shelter found, every canned food, every match counts. And each day survived is a small, solitary victory. The long dark doesn't scream to scare you, it whispers. The fear comes from doubt, scarcity, the sound of a windstorm when your energy is running out. There are no hordes, no epic battles, just the constant question, can I survive one more night? It's a raw, slow, and deeply human experience. Surviving here isn't about triumph. It's about resisting in silence, where no one will see your victory except for you. Forever Skies places you in a future where Earth has been devastated by toxic fog, and your only salvation is a high-tech airship that looks more like a floating house with an engine. You begin by flying over the rusted ruins of a planet that was once inhabited, collecting resources and trying to understand what happened. Survival happens above the clouds, but eventually, you'll have to descend, and that's when the danger begins. Below, the atmosphere is lethal, the creatures hostile, and each descent demands careful preparation. The game's brilliance lies in this duality. The calm of aerial exploration contrasts with the tension of descents. In the sky, you research, build, grow food, and upgrade your airship. On the ground, it's a race against time, oxygen, and radiation. The risk and reward cycle is addictive. And when you return to your ship with new materials and more questions, you feel like you're really exploring a collapsing world. Each trip uncovers a new piece of the environmental story that destroyed everything. But what impresses most in Forever Skies is the poetic feeling of isolation. The sky is silent, beautiful, and empty, like a floating cemetery of humanity. The game doesn't force a narrative, but gives you enough pieces to build your own. It's about rebuilding, but also about mourning. You're not just trying to survive, you're trying to make sense of a world that's already lost. And maybe, just maybe, building something new in the heights. Few games manage to turn an exploration mission into a psychological test of endurance, like Icarus. You're not trying to conquer a new world. You're just trying to survive in one that was already deemed a failure. Extreme climates, hostile animals, lack of oxygen, and relentless deadlines form the backdrop for each expedition. In this environment, every step must be carefully thought out, because one mistake could cost everything. Every mission is a race against the planet and against time. The game places you in temporary operations, with specific objectives and a ticking clock in the back of your mind. Dying or missing the deadline means leaving everything behind, and this gives the loot a real weight. You build shelters, manage food, fight unpredictable storms, and level up as you refine your skills. The crafting system is detailed and encourages constant adaptation. Playing in groups helps, but doesn't save you from the relentless pressure the environment imposes. What truly hooks you in Icarus is the sense of progression under threat. Nothing is guaranteed, and every success feels like it was stolen from the jaws of failure. There's something deeply gratifying about returning to the ship with a full inventory after narrowly escaping a storm that nearly took it all. It's not just about completing missions. It's about resisting, adapting, and leaving your mark on a planet that seems to do everything it can to erase you. When everything around you is a desert, any drop of life feels like a miracle. Wildmender bets on this premise, placing you in a dry world forgotten by the gods, where the cracked soil hides secrets of the past. Your role? Cultivate life, restore nature, and turn a barren landscape into a green refuge. Unlike many survival games that push violence or urgency, here, combat exists. But the real battle is against forgetfulness and the decay of the world. The gameplay revolves around exploration, gardening, and spirituality. You collect rare seeds, restore water sources, and summon spirits to help guide your journey. It's a serene experience, but not passive. Sandstorms, corrupted enemies, and decisions about sustainable resource use demand constant attention. There's a clear, ecological message embedded in every mechanic, but it never feels forced. What's most beautiful about Wildmender is that survival doesn't come from strength, but from care. Watching an oasis bloom because of your actions carries a rare emotional weight in this genre. With each plant that grows, each new area restored, you feel like you're healing the world, and maybe a little bit of yourself too. In times of constant destruction, a game that rewards you for rebuilding is a small revolution. Waking up in a coffin after centuries of slumber would already be strange enough, but in V Rising, that's just the beginning. You take on the role of a newly awakened vampire in a world that has forgotten your existence. Weak, hungry, and vulnerable to the sun, your first challenge is simply surviving the daylight. Night is your ally, and each sunset marks the start of the true hunt. It's a survival game with a gothic soul and a rhythm of dark ascension. The mechanics blend real-time action with building and character progression. You explore forests, villages, and abandoned castles in search of blood. Not just any blood, but specific types that grant various bonuses. You build your own fortress, recruit servants, and challenge powerful bosses to absorb unique abilities, all while dealing with a world that reacts to your presence. Being a vampire here isn't about glamour, it's about strategy. V Rising shines by transforming the vampire cliché into a journey of power reconstruction. The world is hostile, but full of opportunities for those who play smart. You're not just surviving, you're reclaiming what was rightfully yours. And as your fortress grows and your influence spreads, that weak creature from the beginning becomes a true night terror. Hunt, dominate, rule, in that order. Imagine a world where civilization has collapsed, and now all that's left are armed factions, mutants, and forgotten technology. The front drops you into this war-torn survival scenario, where every moment is a choice between building or fighting. It's not just about surviving the hostile environment, but also other players and AI control factions. The map is vast, with regions ranging from dense forests to radioactive zones, and each area brings its own risks. Surviving requires constant adaptation. The gameplay combines base building, military exploration, and tactical combat. You can build entire fortresses with automated traps, craft land or flying vehicles, and even use drones for reconnaissance. The arsenal is diverse, and the battles feel much more like a large-scale war game than a simple survival challenge. Plus, the progression system allows for specialization, encouraging teamwork. But nothing here is simple. Everything depends on your preparation. What sets the front apart is its focus on scale and complexity. It's not enough to survive. You must expand, defend, and dominate. The constant tension between keeping your base secure and exploring the outside world creates an intense pace, especially in online matches. Even when everything seems under control, a surprise invasion or magnetic storm can turn the game around in seconds. It's survival with a modern warfare twist, and no one stays safe for long. Being shrunk to the size of an insect and released into the backyard sounds like something out of an 80s movie, and that's exactly the premise of Grounded. The game turns an ordinary domestic environment into a wild and terrifying territory, where ants become predators and drops of water are more valuable than gold. You wake up tiny, unsure how or why, and need to learn to survive in this new hostile ecosystem. Childhood becomes a battlefield, with grass the size of trees and spiders the size of cars. The charm of Grounded lies in how it creatively reinterprets classic survival mechanics. Everything is adapted to your new size buildings made from leaves, armor made from insect parts, improvised weapons using sticks and thorns. The game allows co-op, adding an extra layer of chaos and fun, especially when someone accidentally attracts a giant spider. There's also a story slowly unfolding, with abandoned labs and clues about what shrank you. More than just a survival game, Grounded is an absurdly scaled adventure with a nostalgic heart. It blends lightness and tension in a unique way. One minute you're calmly harvesting sap, the next you're running for your life from an angry ladybug. Everything has a retro charm, but with a modern execution. And amidst all this, building a base under a mushroom or taming a weevil becomes a small, yet legitimate, victory. Crashed on an alien planet already sounds like a nightmare. Now imagine that it's almost entirely covered by deep oceans. Subnautica begins with your ship on fire, floating in a mesmerizing blue sea, and the only option is to dive in. The underwater world is beautiful, but soon you realize that beauty and danger go hand in hand. Your greatest enemy? The depth. With no oxygen, no shelter, and creatures that would make a shark look like a pet. Each dive becomes a survival mission. The gameplay blends exploration, crafting, and resource management with a constant sense of urgency. You collect scrap to build equipment, increase your diving capacity, and eventually set up underwater bases straight out of science fiction. But even with technology, fear never leaves. There's something claustrophobic about being surrounded by water, with distant sounds and giant shadows moving around you. The oppressive silence is part of the experience. Subnautica nails the balance between wonder and tension. The planet is hostile, but fascinating. Every new species discovered, every cave illuminated by bioluminescent creatures, reinforces the feeling of being far from home. Surviving here is more than gathering resources. It's about keeping calm when everything around you seems intent on swallowing you whole. The ocean holds beauty, but it charges a high price for every meter you dare to explore. Waking up naked on an unknown beach with no memory and a crystal stuck in your arm would be enough to cause panic. But in Ark Survival Ascended, that's just the beginning. You're in a prehistoric world filled with giant creatures, where the greatest predator isn't always a T-Rex. Sometimes it's another player with a fortified base and an army of tamed raptors. Surviving here requires more than instinct. You need strategy, persistence, and a good stone axe. The game offers an aggressive and rewarding progression. You start collecting straw and stones, and end up with futuristic armor, laser weapons, and dinosaurs as mounts. The learning curve is steep, but every small victory, building a cabin, taming a creature, defending your territory, feels epic. The crafting system is extensive and requires careful planning, especially in PvP servers, where a single mistake can cost you hours of progress. Ark is a game where chaos reigns, but also where organization and knowledge shine. Exploration, domination, and survival are intertwined at all times, and even in a brutal environment, there's space for creativity. You're not just fighting the world, you're trying to shape it to your advantage. With time, patience, and some loyal dinosaurs by your side, you can turn a campfire on the beach into a legendary fortress. When the world freezes, warmth becomes a luxury, and keeping society alive becomes an almost impossible task. FrostPunk 2 puts you in charge of a city on the brink of collapse, where every decision carries the weight of collective survival. It's not enough to build houses and furnaces. You must manage hope, despair, and revolt. The temperature drops, the coal runs out, and the people begin to question their choices. Surviving here means making decisions you might wish you could forget. The city lives on sacrifice, and you decide who pays the price. The game blends city simulation with suffocating moral dilemmas. Creating laws is essential, but every rule comes at a cost: forced labor, brutal rationing, constant surveillance. You're not just managing resources, you're shaping an ideology to justify the sacrifice. And the worst part is, often it works. The line between leader and tyrant begins to blur, and the game forces you to face that head-on, with no cynicism or comfort. You learn that the end justifies the means until it no longer does. FrostPunk 2 doesn't reward you with easy achievements or heroic victories. The true triumph is seeing your city survive another day, even at the cost of your own humanity. Everything is scarce, everything is urgent, and even progress comes with consequences. It's a dense, cold, and uncomfortable experience, but also incredibly immersive. With each hard decision, the game doesn't judge you. It just holds up the mirror and makes you look. Exploring the universe is an age-old dream, but in No Man's Sky, it's also a test of patience, adaptation, and constant curiosity. You wake up on an unknown planet, with no resources, a damaged suit, and no explanation other than the cold, radiation, or extreme heat forcing you to act. The game doesn't hold your hand. You need to mine, build, repair, and survive from the very first second. And when everything's stable, you look to the sky, build a ship, and head for another planet. And another. And another. The premise is ambitious: an entire universe procedurally generated, with billions of planets, ecosystems, and forms of life. Yes, No Man's Sky had a rocky start, but today it delivers one of the most complete survival and exploration experiences out there. You can go on as a miner, trader, explorer, pirate, space farmer, or all of the above. The progression is organic, the upgrades are rewarding, and the solitude of the galaxies blends with the absolute freedom to go wherever you wish. What's most impressive is the sense of scale. Entire planets under your feet, with unique biomes, hidden stories, and mysteries waiting for anyone brave enough to dig. No Man's Sky has no bosses to defeat or explosive endings. It has silence, the unknown, and the cold beauty of deep space. Each journey isn't just a change of scenery, but a promise of discovery. And even after hundreds of hours, the universe still feels infinite. Nothing says, "Welcome to the world," like waking up crucified in a hellish desert. Conan Exiles begins like this, mercilessly, and makes it clear from the start surviving here is not a right. It's a privilege you'll have to earn by force. You're in a land where everything tries to kill you: the heat, thirst, monsters, and of course other players. The setting is pure savagery, with bloody combat, forgotten ruins, and creatures straight out of a mythical nightmare. Base building is robust and full of possibilities, but the highlight is domination. You can enslave NPCs to work for you, tame creatures, create armies, and erect colossal fortresses. The brutality of the system isn't a detail, it's a central mechanic. The battles are physical and visceral, with improvised armor, stone weapons, steel, and corrupted magic. Everything pulses with a primal energy, where brute strength sets the rules. Conan isn't about hope or redemption, it's about power. You're not trying to restore a world. You're trying to dominate a hostile territory with your own hands. Every victory tastes of blood, sweat, and hot sand. It's a game where morality slips through your fingers, and what matters is staying on your feet, armed, and ready to slice your next enemy in half. Savage, exaggerated, and unapologetic, just like the world of Conan. You wake up in a ruined world, hungry, thirsty, with nothing but the clothes on your back. In DayZ, the apocalypse has already happened, and all that's left is the instinct to survive. The map is vast, desolate, and silent, but the tension never disappears. Every abandoned village could hide food or traps. Every distant sound could be a zombie, or worse, another player. The game doesn't give you objectives. Just one question: how long can you hold out? The dark beauty lies in the complete unpredictability. You could spend an hour peacefully looting, only to be ambushed by someone hungry who kills you for a can of beans. Combat is realistic and tense, and scarcity turns ordinary items into treasures. There's no flashing HUD or map full of icons, just the environment and your senses. You play with a racing heart, even when nothing is happening. The world feels empty, but it's always ready to surprise you. More than survival, DayZ is about paranoia. The constant fear of losing everything, of trusting someone and being betrayed, or dying from some stupid illness after hours of progress. It's a game that rewards caution, but also demands action. Every human encounter is a moral Russian roulette. There are no guarantees, only choices, and each choice transforms you a little. What starts as a survival game becomes a study of human nature. A helicopter crashes on a remote island. The mission was to rescue a missing billionaire, but quickly it becomes something else: isolation, cannibals, and constant terror. Sons of the Forest begins in chaos and never lets up. You need to find shelter, hunt for food, set traps, and, above all, figure out where the hell you are. The environment is hostile, but also absurdly beautiful. A dense, treacherous living forest where every sound could mean danger. Survival requires constant attention, even in moments of apparent tranquility. The gameplay follows classic survival pillars, but raises the level of immersion. The building system is detailed and manual. Every board must be positioned, every base built with sweat and focus. There's AI in both friendly and enemy NPCs, making every encounter unpredictable. Kelvin, the helper who survives the crash with you, provides comic relief and strategic value. But even with allies, the sense of vulnerability never goes away. Everything feels on the brink of collapse. The terror here isn't supernatural, it's primal. The threat comes from humans distorted by the jungle and from a silence heavier than screams. Sons of the Forest doesn't push you toward mindless action, but traps you with growing tension and morbid curiosity. There's something out there, watching you. The forest feels alive, as if it has consciousness. And even when you think you've seen it all, it finds a new way to scare you. Waking up naked on a beach, with a stone in your hand and no explanation. Rust doesn't waste time with introductions or justifications. It simply throws you into the world and lets you discover, the hard way, what it means to survive. The first few minutes are brutal, chopping trees, running from animals, dying from hunger or cold. But the real danger comes from other players. Every encounter is a gamble collaboration, betrayal, or ambush. Progression is quick, but unforgiving. You can go from stone tools to automatic rifles in just a few hours if you manage to survive that long. Building a base is essential, but it's not enough to hide it while it will be attacked. Always. Explosives, night raids, espionage. Rust is a game where paranoia is constant and, at the same time, necessary. Because while you're chopping wood, someone might be eyeing everything you have. What makes Rust addictive is exactly the chaos. You never know what will happen, and that creates unique stories in each session. A stranger might give you a loaf of bread or kill you for one. You can conquer territory, form clans, make allies, or betray everyone. It's a game where nothing is static. Everything changes with the mood of the players and the cruelty of the environment. Surviving is just the beginning. The real challenge is trusting and knowing when not to trust. In a forgotten corner of the world, a ruined city has become the stage for conflicts between factions, mercenaries, and survivors. Escape from Tarkov throws you into this scenario with a single goal: enter, loot, and get out alive. Sounds simple until you realize that death means losing everything. Each raid is a high-risk gamble, where the sound of a footstep could be your last warning. The game isn't about killing more. It's about surviving better. Realism is the heart of Tarkov. Realistic weapon recoil, detailed ammunition physics, localized injuries, manual treatments, and wounds that affect your mobility. Nothing is generic. You need to prepare carefully, understand the map, and manage your inventory as if it were life or death, because it is. The tension is constant. You're not just fighting bots or players, but time, darkness, and your own nerves. The reward in escape from Tarkov lies in mastering uncertainty. Looting and escaping is a rare triumph, and each successful extraction feels like a wartime victory. The learning curve is brutal, but each mistake teaches you. It's a game for those who love heavy challenges, real risk, and stories that are born from improvisation. There's no flashing HUD or tutorials guiding you, just the sound of your breath and someone hidden waiting for you to slip up. In a desert where the sand can swallow you and the smallest mistake can cost empires, the most valuable resource in the universe is all that matters. Dune Spice Wars turns survival into politics, strategy, and economic dominance. Here, it's not just about withstanding the heat or escaping from giant worms. It's about playing the noble houses game, spying on rivals, and manipulating the council. Every move is watched. Every choice can turn into weakness. And when the desert falls silent, it's because something or someone is preparing to strike. You choose a faction and fight for supremacy on Arrakis, whether through military force, political influence, or economic control. Spice collection is the core of the game, but maintaining that control requires intelligence. Quicksands, local rebellions, storms, and venomous diplomacy make up the board. The map is as hostile as your neighbors, and the desert punishes those who act without thought. Resisting requires calculation, not impulsivity. Every victory comes with a disguised cost. Spice Wars makes you feel small, even when you're in control. It's a game about power, but also about hidden survival. You're always on the verge of losing, and often you don't realize it until it's too late. In the silence of the dunes, the greatest danger isn't the worm beneath your feet, but the gaze behind the political mask. In Dune, surviving means continuing to play. Only the coldest stay, and the smartest reign. Norse legends speak of warriors sent by the gods to prove their worth in unknown realms. Valheim turns this idea into reality. You're cast into a land between worlds, vast and wild, full of mysteries, where everything seems peaceful until the next ambush by a troll. The world is beautiful, but it's not kind. Every tree chopped, every stone stacked, every meal cooked marks a slow and well-earned step toward survival. Here, patience and respect for the unknown are your first tools. The structure is simple but deep. You gather resources, build a base, face creatures, and eventually summon bosses to defeat. Each biome brings a new curve of challenge, from the peaceful forest to the deadly swamps, from the frozen mountains to the chaos of the plains. Crafting is engaging and evolves with you, and building bases allows anything from rustic cabins to breathtaking Viking fortresses. Playing in co-op turns everything into an epic saga. Valheim shines when you surrender to the rhythm of the world. It's not a game that rushes you, but it also doesn't forgive arrogance. Every step farther from home is a gamble. Every expedition an adventure with a beginning, middle, and sometimes tragic end. You feel like you're writing your own legend, one rune at a time. And when the storm starts and a troll emerges from the trees, that's when the true Viking spirit awakens, ready to fight or fall in glory. If you've ever felt unprepared in life, wait until you fall and don't starve. The game drops you into a dark, bizarre world with no explanations, no tutorials, and a single implicit instruction: survive. Sounds simple until you realize everything around you wants to kill you, even the ground sometimes. The charm of the game lies in its gothic, cartoonish style, which deceives you. Behind the cute art lies absurd brutality. Hunger, sanity, and even the weather are your enemies, and balancing these three will come before even thinking about building a decent base. The routine is almost comically cruel. You gather twigs, make a fire, roast some fruit, try not to go insane from the sound of the wind, and then a fiery dog shows up and burns half of your camp. Every action has weight, and mistakes from carelessness, like forgetting to light a torch at night, can mean instant death. The sanity mechanic, in particular, turns even the most mundane activities into a psychological game. Chopping a tree or eating raw meat can have mental consequences, and the game never clearly explains this. It's as if it tests not just your ability to survive, but your capacity to learn from suffering. And still you come back, because Don't Starve has that kind of addictive difficulty that makes you laugh at your own tragedy. With every death, you realize you could have done something different, and that pulls you back in. Plus, after a few attempts, you even start to find humor in fighting against killer rabbits or taming pigs to help you chop down a tree. It's a game about failing and failing again, until failing becomes part of the fun. And when you finally survive more than a few days, there's a genuine sense of victory. Not because the game got easier, but because you got smarter. In the Planet Crafter, the greatest enemy isn't monsters or traps. It's the emptiness itself. You start on a barren planet, with no oxygen, no vegetation, nothing but dust and silence. The mission is simple to explain and immense to execute. Turn this dead place into a habitable world. The game revolves around survival with a focus on engineering, where every step you take, planting a tree, building a generator, extracting resources, truly changes the environment around you. And this is the twist: you're not just trying to survive on a hostile world. You're literally building a new ecosystem. Evolution is visible. The sky changes color, water appears, plants grow, life begins to emerge. The feeling of progress is concrete and constant, and everything you build has a real impact. Still, it's a survival game run out of oxygen or resources, and failure comes quickly, without ceremony. But what really hooks you is the balance between calm and urgency. You're alone, yes, but never bored. Each new technology unlocked opens up huge possibilities, and curiosity becomes fuel. It's almost therapeutic to transform that hostile desert into something green and alive, and even better when it's all you're doing. The reward isn't an epic finale or defeated bosses, but the simple act of breathing clean air on a planet that once killed you just by existing. The Planet Crafter isn't about escaping. It's about conquering one breath of oxygen at a time. And tell me, which of these games have you had the chance to play? Did any of them spark your curiosity? And would you add them to your list of upcoming games? We'd love to know which one caught your attention the most. Feel free to share in the comments any game that would have fit perfectly in the list, but ended up being left out. If you can, please subscribe to the channel to help me grow and never be in doubt about what to play again. I've left 2 videos in the card, one I selected just for you and another that YouTube picked. Just click on either one to watch. Big hug, happy gaming, and see you tomorrow.